All right, so those of you who don't know me, my name is Katie Gernacci. I'm the Program Evaluation Specialist for Medic. Probably seen my name on a few recent emails related to the VBR incentive. Not what I'm here to talk about today, thankfully. We're going to talk about Tableau and just some of the things that are available and some of the use case scenarios. I think our big push with the reporting is to try to make it as an intervention for all of you. That in itself, performance reporting, things like that you can use, again, trying to take some of the lift off of you so that when you're disseminating this information to your providers, it's easily accessible. You can get to a lot of very granular data should you want. And so we're going to go through a few of those things today. My original goal is to make this a little bit of a scavenger hunt, give you some time to find some things, but in the interest of time, I think we'll probably just run through these things together. Definitely feel free to encourage you to follow along on your laptop. But just another plug, if you ever have any questions, we do not expect you to be the keeper of all knowledge related to Tableau or really anything related to Medic. So feel free to reach out to me, anybody on our team, anytime, and we're happy to help you with these things. I love one-on-one Zoom calls because we can kind of dive into very specific things related to your site. So give me a shout if you have any questions. Just again, we've pointed this out a little bit. Medic, the Tableau reporting has changed a little bit. We launched it early-ish, mid-2021. You can see this was our original landing page. This is what you see now when you log in. We've got some additional reports, some supplemental reports within each of these workbooks. And again, this is just to kind of, you guys give us your data, we give it back to you in a way that is hopefully helpful. So the first thing, if you guys have your computer with you, I'd love you to log into your account. If you don't have the site bookmarked, don't worry, you can get to it very easily. You just go to our public website, it's just medicqi.org, and along the right-hand side of the page, you'll find this Arbor Research Tableau reporting link that brings you right to the login page. And if you don't have a bookmark, now would be a great time to do so. Next thing I want to just make sure that all of you guys are aware of, the landing page. Tableau's got, a few quirks. So we have this landing page available, again, just to help navigate to the reports that are useful to you. It does not automatically populate as your home page. So you can find, if you haven't already done so, make this your start page. It's a little bit easier. You find this within the File Explorer, again, just called the landing page. It's one with all the fancy pictures on it. Navigate to that report, and then in the upper right-hand corner, you can click on your initials and click the option that says make this my start page. Then any time that you log into Tableau, it's going to automatically take you to this landing page, and you don't need to find what you're looking for within that File Explorer. It gets a little busy in there. So definitely take the time to do this if you haven't done so already. Also, another FYI, we know that we've been encouraging a lot of your providers to sign up for individual accounts. Again, we do not expect you to be the keeper of all knowledge for all of this. We have Tableau reporting resources available online. On our website, under the members tab, there's this Tableau report resources option. There are links there for the troubleshooting access tips if people need access or they have trouble logging into their account. We know you guys get a million emails a day. This is not something that you should have to help them with. Either they can help themselves with the information that's available, and also it gives them the link to contact us at the coordinating center so that we can help them troubleshoot logging into their account. So again, it's not something that you have to worry about. We also have a lot of wonderful videos narrated by the one and only Andy Scott on the website. They're very, very short clips. We don't want to throw an hour-long thing at you. Nobody's going to watch it, including myself. So there's very specific things, how to navigate the website, the dashboard, the case list. So again, if you have questions about things, they're from when we started with Tableau, so you might have noticed that things have changed a little bit, but the premise of the video still applies. The other thing too is we're going to go through this a little bit, but there are videos on how to export the data, which I think can be very beneficial. Okay, so let's get started with some fun walkthroughs. So we're going to learn how to find your performance on any of the measure of interest for you compared to the Medic Collaborative average. I think this could be, useful information to provide to your providers. This is where we perform. This is where we perform compared to Medic as a whole, whether it's, higher, lower, et cetera. Maybe, garner some engagement, encouragement, things like that. There's two different ways that you can do this, two relatively easy ways. There's site rankings reports, and all of our measures, with the exception of time to steroids, has a site ranking that is going to look very similar to this. You will see when you log in, you'll find your site will be the one that's not blurred out on my screen. And then on that report, it'll show you the collaborative average for whatever time frame you're filtered on. It defaults to the current P4P year, so anytime you log in and navigate to this report, it's defaulting to all the data available since November 1st of 2021 through the most recently abstracted data as of the day before. And that is just regular average. Everybody's performance weighted equally. And so, you know, if there's 10 sites, it's everybody's average divided by 10, or everybody's performance divided by 10. And that's the average that you see there. The site rankings reports, I will just say, they don't have their own spot on the landing page. So to get to them, you either have to go to the File Explorer, or within any of the dashboards, you can click the site rankings report. And then there's also a spot up at the top. And then once you're in any one of the site rankings reports, you can navigate to the rest of them. The other place that you can go to find the MEDDIC collaborative average is what's called the site performance dashboard. It's this link that you'll see, or the dash icon that you see on the left-hand side there. And it's going to give you your performance compared to a couple of things for every measure, again, all in one place. So you'll find the average of every measure, but the one thing I want to point out is this is a weighted average. So rather than being everybody's performance divided by the number of sites, it's the total numerator of all of our sites over the total denominator. So you might notice that those two values you see are a little bit different, and I feel like we have a use case for both. Sometimes you want to see everybody's performance kind of where you fall, and then sometimes the weighted average, which is what we use a lot for P4P and DVR measurements. So again, that's just a difference that I wanted to make a note of there. If you hover over that column, it's going to give you the percentage. And again, it's whatever time frame that you're filtered on. One FYI I want to give you, I think the vast majority of folks have access to just one site, but this dashboard can be useful for those of you who have access to multiple sites. You can select, you'll notice if you have access to one site, those two bars that are highlighted here, outlined in red, are always going to be the same. And that's just because the average of one site is the same as that number. But if you have access to multiple sites, like a Henry Ford system, for example, you can see the average of all the Henry Fords in that second bar, and then you can use that individual facility drop-down menu to select which site you want to look at. But just an FYI there. The next thing that I kind of will be fun to play around with, so we want to find the adult or pediatric GCS documentation report and review kind of like your yearly GCS documentation rate over time. This is going to hopefully walk you through kind of a different couple of use case scenarios here. Anecdotally, we've noticed improving documentation of GCS kind of correlates really well with improving adult head injury CT appropriateness and pediatric intermediate risk utilization, kind of the inverse of that. And I don't know if it's because we're risk stratifying better or but that is why we've created the supplemental report for you guys in case you find it helpful. So whether you choose adult or pediatric, you'll click the icon on the landing page to get you to those reports. This is ultimately hopefully what you end up with, is a report that looks similar to this, but I'm going to kind of walk you through how to get there. So within the either of the head injury workbooks, you're going to find this GCS PCS documented tab. You're going to select that, and then to get to your yearly performance, we're going to change, it defaults to monthly. You're going to change that to yearly. The other thing too, so again, the date range defaults to the current P4P year, but you can change your date range to anything that you want. You just have to make sure that you change the radio button there from P4P year to date range, and then put in whatever time frame that you want to include. This is actually a few of our sites combined together, and you can see they've got a nice kind of like trend over time of improved GCS documentation rate. And again, that's something I think it's valuable to see your trend over time without potentially those like the noise that you see in some of the monthly or even quarterly reports. So I think again, that's why I wanted to point out that you have that option. And there are other supplemental reports that exist, not just for head injury, but for chest pain as well. So definitely take a peek, go through those workbooks when you have time, just to see kind of like what information is available to you. And then, yeah, if you scroll over any single one of those dots, you can see your more granular numerator, denominator, and performance. This next one I think is really fun. This is a new set of reports built by Chris Fung. I know we've gone over this a little bit at the recent clinical champion call and also at one of our abstractor meetings, but just trying to highlight the different things that are available. So one-stop shop for finding statistically high-performing individuals and statistically low-performing individuals. So we're going to navigate to the All Measures dashboard, which you'll find on the the main landing page. One note I want to make here too, this set of reports is only available to clinical champions, abstractors, administrators, or folks with the same level of access. Individual providers can see all of the other reports we've looked at previously. They don't have access to these reports, so they're kind of higher level summaries. So once you navigate to the all measures dashboard, you're going to go to the outlier detection report. Once you're there, you will see, so there's these two green lines, and those are 95% confidence intervals surrounding the target that adjust for sample size. Because again, one of the things we hear, my provider only sees 1 or 2 cases. Are they truly an outlier? And the answer is probably not, right? So this is kind of giving you, if you find a dot above that green line, in this case, adult head injury, this provider is performing statistically high regardless. I mean, and it can't be explained by the fact that they just see a lot of people. They see a lot of people. The further to the right you are is your volume. They see a lot of people and they're statistically high performing. Kind of inverse to that, if you're below that bottom green line here, you are a statistically low performing provider, and it's not because you don't see a lot of patients or you do. If you fall below that line, you can't explain the poor performance for their sample size essentially. And then you'll notice it defaults to blinding all of your providers. You can change that. There's a hide provider filter. If you change that to false, it's going to show all of your provider names. And then at that point, you can scroll over or hover over any of those individual dots, and you will see the name of that provider. You can see their numerator, denominator, and their performance. The one thing I'll mention is the time frames on here. You can only do this by P for P year, so you can't adjust it for quarter or monthly. But I think, again, we want to make sure that we have enough volume, and that's, I think, why we look at this at as much of the year as possible.
Just want to point out, because it was brought up earlier, so this is that report. If you want to send out an unblinded list, it's right there. Unhide your provider names. You can print that to a PDF and attach it to an email, and you're done. If you want to go blinded, that'll take a little bit more work, but hopefully we can get folks to be comfortable with unblinded, and it's all right there.
Thank you, Megan, for pointing that out. The report to just the left of that, provider rankings, is a similar view, but it takes out this like outlier view. So if it's just like a list of names that you're looking for, and in relation to the target, that might also be a good option for you as well. So the other provider rankings, it's the same dashboard, but you'll see just to the left where it says outlier detection, there's one that says provider rankings. And you'll have the same option to either blind or unblind your list. If you keep your list blinded, you can then select an individual physician, and it will highlight that one physician while we're keeping everybody else blinded. So if you didn't want to if you wanted to send one provider their performance in relation to everybody else without outing everybody else, that is an option in that provider rankings report. So I think hopefully a lot of value there. The one other thing that I wanted to touch on is that there is a lot of very, very granular data that exists in Tableau. It's just not super easy to get to. I think the point of the report that we create is to give you, good data visualizations, make things easy to find, give you your performance of things that you need on a regular basis. You can also get to quite a bit of data from the back end if you have very specific questions. For example, this is just going to kind of walk you through, if you want to know your chest X-ray utilization rates by gender, that's something we don't have a report for, but you can get to that data within Tableau. So the first thing you'll want to do is just get to or navigate to the dashboard that you need. In this example, we're looking at chest X-ray, so we're going to click on the chest X-ray icon and get to the chest X-ray dashboard. The trend table is kind of where I download a lot of the data from. I think you can download this data from any of the reports. It downloads the most cleanly, I think, from the trend table. So that is typically my recommendation. And then there's going to be a download option in the right upper hand side there, looks like a TV with an arrow. If you click on that, you have the option for data. I think most people intuitively go to crosstab, but crosstab or an Excel file is just going to give you what you see. It won't give you the backend data. So you really need that data option. One, just FYI, a lot of times if you click on it, it's going to be grayed out. That is another Tableau quirk, nothing that we can do. But if you click onto any single data point, whatever report you're looking at in this example, we could click on the 32%, unclick on the 32%, try to download again, and you'll have that option. Again, it's not something you know to do unless somebody tells you. So hopefully, and if you find other quirks like that, we're I cannot get this to work, again, that's an opportunity for you guys to reach out. We'll figure it out with you. At any rate, So at this point, once you click the download the data option, it's going to give you this data summary tab. It's a separate tab that'll open, and you have the option to select the full data, and that's going to give you access again to every single abstracted variable. It's going to give you access to a lot of the electronic variables that exist. And then there's this show fields option, because you can select all of the fields that are available, but it's a very large Excel file and you have to dig through it. The other thing, you can just select the fields that you want. For example, MRN, case number, if you want to be able to look them up individually. In this case, we want to include the variable for sex if we're trying to look at utilization rates by sex, gender, things like that. We have ethnicity, race, but also a lot of the abstracted data elements are there. I think one example that people have looked at, they want to know how many inappropriate head CTs they've done where the patient was intoxicated, for example. That is information that we don't provide in a very nice, pretty report, but it is information that you can get to within these full data downloads. And again, the show fields, you just put a check mark by everyone that you want to include. Again, the variable names are not super intuitive either. So for example, we abstract data elements of whether something is a sign of a basilar skull fracture or an open or depressed skull fracture. One of them is named skull fracture, the other one is named skull fracture sign. Nobody's gonna know that, right? So email us if you have specific questions. I'm trying to find this, I don't know what variables I need. Send us an email, we'll send it to you back. We can even send you a copy of our electronic data dictionary if that's helpful. If you have folks at your site that wanna dig into this type of granular data. Again, we would include the options that we need. You click download and it's going to give you this giant Excel spreadsheet with a lot of data. Most of them are binary data point zeros or ones, but again, you are going to have fields that have 0 through 5. If you don't know what those mean, let us know and we can help you with that. I think the point here is to not go through this very specific example, but just show you the capabilities that exist within Tableau and let you know that, if there's something that you're searching for that you think would be helpful to dig into at your site, most of the time it's available, and if it's not, let us know and we can then give you, a separate file with the data that you're looking for. The last thing that I would like to do, so you may have noticed on your intervention templates that we sent out this year, we left the top row blank, and that was intentional because I wanted to take the time to point out to you all where you can go to find this information if you don't already know how to get to it. I think for a lot of you this will be a review, but just as an FYI, I think this would be a good time now that we're here with our teams as well to kind of have these conversations on where you're performing for this current P4P year so that we can start to have those conversations about potentially the interventions that we want to start to plan for next year. So there's a couple of different options in terms of finding your performance. I think the one everybody's familiar with, you go to your dashboard and your grand total, again, it's going to default to this current P4P year. You're going to see it. The same information is going to be available in the trend table. I think that's where the vast majority of us go to find this information. But I just wanted to point out on that new set of reports in the All Measures dashboard on the summary page, you can see the same information just in a couple different spots and in a couple different ways, and you can see your performance kind of over time without having to adjust your filters. And you can easily switch between measures rather than having to go back to the landing page every single time. You can just find the modules filter and switch from adult head injury to peds head injury and populate that data pretty quickly, pretty easily. And then I just think there's a lot of great information on that summary page too, so I just wanted to show it off. I think that is it in terms of kind of talking you through some of the things we have. Again, this is a very small portion of the reports that we have available to you. So feel free to reach out anytime. Again, your providers, if they sign up for accounts, what they see is their own data. You guys see everybody's data, they see their own. And they do have access to their case list where they can see exactly what cases they're being graded on, if that's of interest to them. I think that's it. It's a lot, but hopefully, you guys can use Tableau for some interventions coming up.